Greetings, Slackers. September Man here with an article I want to share with you as it touches on something that I'm very passionate about. And this has to deal with the censorship and the restriction on free speech that appears to be coming down the line here on YouTube. And there's this article over on The Verge that taps right into some of the earlier videos that I've done talking about the demonetization. And I wanted to read this to you so you can see what I'm talking about here. YouTube will hide but not remove some supremacist videos by Jacob Kastrenakis. Hope I pronounced the last name right, but it says here YouTube has been cracking down on extremist content over the past couple months. And today the company is announcing some details on its progress and a few additional policy changes. One of the biggest, YouTube will now begin limiting the reach of videos that have, quote, controversial religious or supremacist content, but don't strictly violate the website's hate speech guidelines. Videos that get flagged by users but on review aren't deemed to be in violation of the site's rules may now be subject to several new restrictions. That includes being placed behind an interstitial showing some kind of warning. That's a pop-up that, will warn you before you proceed forward. Being unable to run ads, and the loss of community features such as comments, likes, and suggested videos. The changes are an improvement over the status quo, but it's not entirely clear why YouTube isn't choosing to ban these videos outright if they're deemed to be controversial enough to hide. As for clarification, a YouTube spokesperson pointed us to a line in an op-ed written by Google's general counsel Kent Walker back in June when plans for this policy were first announced. Quote, "We think this strikes the right balance between free expression and access to information without promoting extremely offensive viewpoints," Walker wrote. He said the videos will, quote, "have less engagement and be harder to find as a result of the changes. It's not entirely clear what YouTube will consider to be nearly but not quite in violation of its rules. YouTube's existing rules say any video that promotes violence or hatred against individuals or groups based on certain attributes, such as gender or ethnicity, isn't allowed on the site. These changes will come to YouTube's desktop site in the coming weeks and to mobile sometime soon thereafter. YouTube also says it's begun working with 15 additional expert groups, including the Anti-Defamation League, to help flag extremist content. YouTube announced earlier this year that it plans to expand the number of trusted review partners to over 100. It started around 60, and this appears to be part of that expansion. But the thing that YouTube says has been most helpful so far is its increased reliance on machine learning to flag extremist content. After launching the feature in June, YouTube says it doubled the number of videos it removes for violent extremism, and that 75% of those videos were removed before any humans flagged them. Quote, "Our machine learning systems are faster and more effective than ever before," the company writes in a blog post. Along with other social media sites, YouTube has been under pressure to better police the content users publish on its platform. The EU is close to requiring companies like YouTube to block videos that incite terrorism. And Germany recently passed a law doing much the same thing. YouTube has been addressing the issue in multiple ways, including both ramping up its efforts to remove violent and extremist content and directing people seeking out such videos to playlists that debunk their hateful rhetoric. Now, why is this important? You know, I would have to share with you that while on one hand I would like to thank YouTube for the opportunity of exposing me to new content and new ideas that, quite frankly, my public library, or let's just say my community college campus, had a limited range to select from. YouTube vastly expanded that. And so it is responsible for the growth and the, let's just say, the lift in intelligence that a lot of people are experiencing right now, especially those who take information seriously and spend a great deal of time watching documentaries and other videos that content creators have produced, helping to reveal and shed light on different things that is going on in our world right now, right? And so to me, this is disastrous because Some of these videos that I've watched, while I may not have necessarily agreed with the speaker, I think that it's important that YouTube, being an American-based company, should honor the First Amendment of the Constitution. That's the right to free speech. There are no restrictions on free speech. There are no limitations on free speech. And there shouldn't be any placed on the internet when it comes to the range of topics that can be discussed. Because how else can we learn and gain insight if there's no dialogue taking place? Not only that, going back down here to this main section right here, we think this strikes the right balance between free expression and access to information without promoting extremely offensive viewpoints. Well, what's wrong with an offensive viewpoint? Other than it might offend someone, it might get them to think. And not only that, if it offends them so badly, they always have the option of clicking the stop button or hitting the X and closing the window entirely, right? Why is it that YouTube feels that it needs to come in and govern what people have access to? Why can't some of this responsibility be left up to the users for them to decide, since they're the ones using the website? But again, we understand YouTube has aligned itself with people from Hollywood, as well as the movie industries and music industries. And so right now, as these people come on board, there's going to be some changes, some cultural changes. And I'm going to dig into this more in another video, because I definitely had another idea earlier that I want to talk about and explore, but that'll be on another video, so look forward to that. But again, how do you feel about the restriction on free speech and people being able to express their thoughts? Even if it's a troll down in the comment section, who cares? How come people aren't being promoted to strengthen their ability to ignore, and instead to prevent from people becoming offended? They have to put all these rules in place. They have to hide things. They have to reduce and restrict access to it. So hopefully these people will get frustrated and go away. But that's the very thing that leads to people forming new networks and still sharing the content, and something that you tried to get rid of and sweep under the rug just becomes bigger and bigger until the point that basically it explodes. Another thing is this whole EU issue. From everything that I've heard in the geopolitical realm and the political realm about things that are going on over in Europe, it sounds to me like Europe is trying to protect itself from criticism, as is all these governments around the world right now, because people are beginning to wake up, they're beginning to rise up, they're exploring new ideas that might not necessarily have been explored in their culture before or allowed to be explored. And so these governments are deeply concerned about this. And in order to prevent people from rising up and coming together, uniting, or possibly discussing issues and placing the blame, pointing the finger directly at the source of the problem, they're going to try to cover up. And again, like they say here, increasing their reliance on machine learning to flag extremist content, and its efforts to remove violent and extremist content, and directing people seeking out such videos to playlists that debunk their hateful rhetoric. So YouTube is purposely jumping into the mix and trying to steer people. To me, that's wrong. I think that you should have a right to explore the ideas that you want to explore. Your mind is your mind, and you have the right to develop it and grow it, should you choose, in the way that you see fit. But by the looks of it, we have a corporation, and that's YouTube here, saying that no, you don't have that right. Are you going to let them take that from you? Because if you let them take that, what will they take next? Let's talk about that. What are your thoughts on this whole thing? Put that down in the comment section. The link to this will be down in the description box. And that's going to do it for this article and this video. I'll catch you in the next one.